Okay, guys, we are about to be live on the city's YouTube channel.
Hello, Newman.
Okay, we are now live streaming to YouTube.
All right. I'd like to call the Public Works and Public Safety Committee meeting to order at 6:33 p.m.
Hold on a second,
roll?
Randy. Randy, wait, I
Sure.
gotta hit record. So you're gonna say that. Record to cloud. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Call the Public Works and Public Safety Committee to meeting at 6:33 p.m. If the clerk could call the roll.
Counselor Harris. Counselor Harris. Okay, Counselor LaFosse. Oh, okay, Counselor LaFosse.
Present.
Counselor Mackin.
Present.
Counselor O'Brien
Present.
and Chairman LeBlanc.
Present.
Okay, everybody is present.
Wonderful. We have a quorum.
You have a quorum.
Wonderful. So we'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from 3/3/2020.
I'll make that motion. This is Councilor Mackin. I'll make a motion.
No, Councilor Mackin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We've approved the minutes. Mr. Clerk, do we have any new matters?
There are no new matters, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Councilor Harris moves to take the traffic mitigation resolution off the table. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is before us. Councilor Harris moves that we hear from off-committee members from National Grid and Eversource. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is before us and off-committee members are present. I believe we have National Grid was up first. Was the first name Kathy?
Mary.
Mary, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
Mary from National Grid. So one of the things we were discussing was the fact that at this current time, there's probably, I'm guessing, 60 to 80% of the businesses are closed. And so I know a few years back, prior, we got a lot of complaints from the businesses for various blackouts when the utilities were doing system upgrades. So we were just discussing, we didn't know if this is a good time to look at potentially doing some of them while some of the buildings and businesses are vacant. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be DEP that regulates. You guys do meter swap outs periodically and different things like that. So is there anything that National Grid should be doing while businesses at a lull so that when they do finally get up and running, that we don't further inhibit them?
Well, we reached out, I reached out to the engineers, and we did come up with a rather large job from 390 to 600 Main Street, which intersected 16 to 50 Linden Street, and was able to get the plans, get everything in motion. Joe was fantastic, and Eric, the abutters, and were being notified, but then we came to find out that, and it was because of Chairman LeBlanc that it initiated this, which was great, and but we can't do it because I guess the intersection of Linden and Main Street is newly paved, so they, obviously, the DPW wouldn't want us to damage the road.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I believe that was just paved. What type of upgrades, like in the, Main Street, Moody Street area, as far as system upgrades do you do, and when do you swap out your meters?
Well, swapping out the meters right now, that has been delayed because you have to enter the premises, and National Grid is also trying to limit the employees' exposure to other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's an emergency, naturally, we go in, but with the meter changes, I mean, I can try to find out, but then they'd have to have someone from the building in the building, and then they'd have to, socialize distancing, and which would be fine if, I mean, I can pose that question to customer service and see what they have.
And I guess the only thing that we were more discussing was anything that would affect the business after they get back open, if there was any system upgrades you should be working on now. Do you see any?
As of now, they are reaching, and because of the chairman asking Joe to get in touch with me, I got in touch with them, and they are looking, but as of right now, we have nothing that's pending in Waltham, just that one that I mentioned, the one on Main Street at the intersection of Linden. And I'm not sure, but I think we do have to wait a while. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, I think 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was just done 2 months ago. All right, I'll open up if councilors have any other questions, and if you come up with any projects that you think we should be doing now as opposed to when business gets back into full swing, stay in touch with Joe and let us know.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, do any other councilors have any questions?
Can you see
National
me
Grid?
again, Randy?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I have a question.
Sure, who's this?
It's Council O'Brien.
Oh, Councilor O'Brien, you have the floor.
Yeah, not really a question, but I just think it's a really good idea what you came up with to try to do this as businesses are closed. I support it 100%. That's all I wanted to say. Good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. In few years prior, we did get some, a lot of the businesses reaching out, and they weren't happy because they were, some of the system upgrades and shutdowns and blackouts were done at peak times without much warning. So I will, state that the communication has been much better in the past couple of years with the utilities. So we've had, I know they're doing more of them on Sunday nights and stuff, but it still does impact them. So I just figured we'd reach out. So thank you for that, Councilor O'Brien. Any other councilors? Hearing none, all right. So I thank you. We can move on to Maureen. I thank you for coming in and speaking to us. And if anything pops up, please feel free to reach out, and then we can do basically the same questions. Eversource is here, correct?
Yes, it's Maureen Carroll with the Eversource Company. So I did reach out after I talked to Joe, and I did talk to the community relations. Right now, we have crews that have started work. I believe it was April 6th. They're going to be doing a reliability project in Waltham. They're going to be on Main, Lyman, Church, Summer Ave, and Faneuil Street. It's going to be, they're going to be doing a reliability project. They're going to be replacing poles, installing new wire. They're going to convert to 13 kV.
Wonderful. And that's also good because there's not a terrible amount of traffic at the moment. So thank you. Any other councilors have questions?
I have a quick question, Randy. Councilor LaFosse. I was driving.
Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you. I was driving on Taunton Pond Road today. There was a pole. I'm assuming Eversource is going to control all the poles in the city, right across the street from the hotel, that is leaning at a 45-degree angle. Is that something that we can send somebody out to take a look at?
So what I can do is I can email the supervisor, have one of the designers go out. He can check it, and then I can send a thing to Joe and get back to you.
All right. Yeah, I noticed it today, and it's leaning extensively. So before it becomes a major issue.
So it's on Taunton Pond Road across from the hotel?
Yeah, it's the what's that? The DoubleTree there, right where that little pond is in between the turnaround at Taunton Pond Road,
Okay.
128. Yep.
Sure. We can have one of the designers check it, and then, like I said, I'll send an email to Joe.
Great. Thank you. No further questions, Randy.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And if no other councilors have any, we can keep the meeting moving. But I thank you for coming in, the both of you, and Feel free if, any projects pop up that you feel we should be doing now so that we don't affect the businesses when they get open, feel free to reach out to us, and if we can assist, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and everybody
Thank
stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Councilor Harris, you want to move to lay that matter back on the table?
Make a motion to lay that matter back on the table.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Matter's back on the table. The next matter, Councilor Harris would also like to take off the table, is the public way, private way resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is in front of us. I can, Councilor Harris, if you want to take the floor first, I have a few comments to make on it also.
So I know, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is through you to the clerk of the committee. I know we had said that we were going to kind of dust off all kind of prior processes and details, and this is way before COVID, and it was in the middle of the election. And now, that we're past the election, but I know we're still in the middle of COVID, and you have a kind of a diminished staff in the office to kind of help pull this through. I think what our request was to pull forward all the current processes and listings. So we know we have a listings of private ways and a listings of what we know to be public ways, that these aren't completely extensive, but they're illustrative of what we know. And we know what those processes are. So I guess my thoughts were to the clerk, how far did we get in collecting that data to bring it back to this committee? Because we were going to assemble this into some sort of communication that we could get on the city's website. So could the clerk answer that or the chair?
So I sent out the most recent legal opinions we'd had on, private ways and public ways. I can send out where we are with the street list. I can send an Excel sheet that shows what we've done so far in terms of identifying when the streets were accepted and everything, like tomorrow if you want. And then there is an old betterments book that we used. I think that at some point in the Public Works Committee, we got an opinion from Attorney Craig or someone that, questioned the order in which we were doing things. So I still have that. If I can scan that and send people copies of that as well.
I guess,
Okay, so
if I might, Councilor Harris, sorry. I guess one of the thoughts is there was multiple law opinions over the past couple of years. So if we could compile them all together, so the Public Works Committee could go through them, because every time we go to convert either a private way to public way, or do a betterment on a private way and or a public way, or upgrade the sidewalks, we sort of have to go back from square one and relearn it all. If we could put it in an easy to read document and have some transparency and put it on the website, that'd be a good thing. So I think we need all the documents together to review, to compile this together. Councilor Harris, back to you on the floor.
okay, so through you, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk of the committee, I think that, one, I don't know if we need the betterments book. I'm going to go up a level. What we want to be able to do is give guidance to the public and be transparent goals, right? About what is our current listing of, accurate as we can be, about private ways, knowing, we can put an asterisk at the bottom. So I'm just going to ask these one by one, and then I'm going to make a request, and then we can work through any timeline that the clerk has time for to pull these things together, because our goal would be to basically put together content that could be pushed out on the city's website on this. So through you, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk, we do have a listing of what we know to be best that we can private ways, right? So we do have that listing. To the clerk. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. We have what we have on the list. Our problem is sometimes, sometimes someone petitions to have their street paved, and then we find out it's a right of way or a
we're gonna spell that out. You're absolutely right. We're gonna spell that out in our process and kind of caveat the gotchas in this, because there is no, to your point, and I think what you want to avoid is there's no cut and dry list. Hey, if you're on this list of streets, you go down this path. If you're on this list of streets, you go down this path. I think what we've got to do is say, if we have a listing of private ways, great. Let's put that in the content of one email to this committee. 2, is there a documented process or a series of documents that we could review and write a process about how betterments are assessed with a private way? Like there is a petition form, like a certain percentage of abutters on that street have to sign off on this before betterments are assessed. Is there any kind of piecemeal documentation that we could look at in committee, and even in between? Maybe we take a week in between and actually do a review and then come in and actually work to develop a process. Do you have any piecemeal documentation that you could also include with that private way list? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk.
I could send you links to the ordinances that govern those areas.
Okay, and then we do have a form, right, that we do ask anybody who wants to approach this. There is a form, right, that people sign. It's almost like a petition, I think is what we call it. Is that correct also to the clerk?
Yes, we have a petition form.
Okay, so could we get those 3 things, and do I need to write this in the form of a request, or is it okay just to talk about these in committee? Do you need them in writing, or is that something I could just ask for to the clerk?
I think I understand what you're looking for.
Okay, cool. And then on the public ways, that takes care of private ways in the same email. On the public way side, if there's no other caveats on private ways, I wanted to move to public ways. On the public way side, through you, Mr. Chair, to the clerk, is there a listing of public ways today that we have, that we work with, that are just, like you said, known to the best of our ability?
Yes.
Okay. And then could you also do something similar, like point us to the links in the ordinances that guide public ways as well with paving? Which would be 1725, I think, but I
No,
think
I
there's
mean,
also.
it's 1725, but in terms of like repaving, I can't think of anything.
Okay, so if there's nothing, and then those public ways are just guided by 1725, whatever that guidance is, could that be sent as one email when you have time to this committee, and we can take it up over, the duration in between? I think we're going to need a week to work on it, read through everything. And then the goal would be in this committee to basically come in and try to work through a written process, high level, for what happens with private ways and what happens with public ways. But first we need the data. So if the request is clear through you, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk, then I defer to the clerk on the timeline and everything else he's got on his plate. But if we could get this in a single email, once we get that within 2 weeks, this committee could then take this up and kind of move forward with that. So
Yeah,
I don't know if we need to vote on that request or not.
And on the request, I might just add on public ways, we should clarify, if it's not spelled out in the ordinance, what would be defined as a betterment on a public way? Because some of them do not have granite curbs and concrete sidewalks. So some of them will be brought up to those standards and there will be a betterment assessed. So we should just spell that out and add that on to the request, if I may. Mr. Clerk, do you think we need to take a vote on this?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want.
Sure. All right, you've heard the sense of the request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Really?
All those opposed? Thank you. It's been approved.
Yeah, I make a motion to lay that matter back on the table.
Councilor Harris makes a motion to lay that matter back on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The matter is back on the table. That's it for the tabled matter on the agenda tonight. Any other business, or what is the wish of the committee?
Motion to adjourn?
Councilor O'Brien makes a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:52 PM, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, guys. Take care.
See you
Bye-bye.
later.
See you in an hour. Bye.